Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have Pam Perry of Pam Perry PR.com join us, and we're going to talk a little bit about PR. Thank you, Pam, for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Ken. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this. This is my jam of really helping people grow their business using PR.
Good. Well, good deal. Yeah, when most lawyers, we think about marketing, we think about TV, billboards, internet, newspaper ads, whatever, social media. Mm-hmm. But there's other things out there, and one of them is PR. And a lot of times you can get a lot of coverage for a little bit of money. I know I've been quoted when I practiced law in the newspaper just one time and got probably 20 cases out of it, just that one quote. So I know it does work. Yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
So, makes a difference.
The reason why it works more so than an ad, and I used to be in advertising, so I'm not going to put like a lot of shade on ads because ads do work, but people know that you pay for the ad. And so with television, radio, or print or magazines, they know that the journalist has vetted you, and they vetted you and they sought you out as an expert. And journalists have to abide by journalism ethics. And so they're not in the job to sell you. They're just really informing their audiences about what you do or giving your opinion about what it is that you do. So a journalist is not looking to sell you. They're not like your salesperson, but a journalist will be the one that will put your story in the outlet, whether it's broadcast or print. And the reason why people believe that, because it's not sold to them. They know that they weren't sold. And so that is why people really have more, I guess you would say, more believability or more credibility in terms of getting PR versus if you have an ad that's a full page in the newspaper and it say, oh, this is what we do, versus you're being quoted in the newspaper. And it could be a small quote, but they know that the journalist vetted you and that you are a person of authority. And that's why people like PR. It's hard to get a journalist's attention so that they can quote you or put you on their show or have you on their platform. But once you do, and you do a really good job, you can come back over and over again. An example of that is Areva Martin. Areva Martin is a civil rights attorney, but she also does she was on Dr. Phil. She's been on MSNBC, CNN, and she was quoted a lot. And how she actually grew her business was from PR. She wrote a book called Make It Rain. Not a client of mine, just a friend. And she basically went to a Dr. Phil show with her client to make sure that her client was really speaking the right words to Dr. Phil. It was a child abuse case, I believe it was. And she just became friends with the producer and the producer in the green room. And the producer says, well, you're so, know so much about this case. She says, I'm the attorney. She says, would you mind coming on the set with your client? Of course. So she did. She was ready. And from there, she became a regular on a lot of those TV shows, a lot of the talk shows. And eventually the PR made her phone ring off the hook. She was in St. Louis at the time, and it just rang off the hook, and she just had to expand and this and that. It just grew exponentially. And media, I always tell people, media begets media. So the more media you get, the more other outlets will ask you to come as well. Yeah. So that's just one example of Areva Martin of using PR to grow her business. And it was by accident, actually, for her.
Yeah. So tell me your story. Tell me your background. How did you get into PR?
Actually, I have always wanted to do something around communications and wasn't sure really what it was. Coming from Detroit, Motown has been like the thing that I grew up seeing. And I always had such a admiration for Berry Gordy. Not that I didn't have, the Motown artists. I like them too, but I always liked Berry Gordy in terms of how he put together them, because I'm from Detroit. So I knew some of the people, how he would put them together through the image school and take them through the machine and make sure that they're promoted right, and I just always liked that, how he takes someone from, not being known to very famous, right? So that always interests me. Went to college, majored in advertising and PR, wasn't sure which area, and also broadcast, wasn't sure which area I really liked. But I remember reading a book in high school called The Rosemary Touch about a woman being a copywriter. And at that point I said, I want to own my own agency one day. That was like at 16 years old. So really roughly about 20 years after that, I did. I started my firm. But primarily doing PR was a combination of the journalism background that I had in advertising, where you're using print, broadcast, advertising, marketing. It's all of the disciplines together, but PR is like the propeller of all of the things. And so I like having that. I produce a magazine. I also have a podcast. I write press releases. So I'm touching all of them. I just had a client. I was on a Fox 2 News with her. And then I have another client that's the cover of a magazine. So you can use all the media to promote and market the message. And that's how I really got into it, because I couldn't really figure out, like, do I want to stay at the Free Press? And I was there for 7 years. Or do I want to stay working for a nonprofit? And I was there for like 7 years. Do I want to stay in a PR firm? And I was there for about 5 years. So it was like, where do I really fit the best? And I really like doing the way that I'm doing PR now, really helping people build their personal brand, because that's important today. It wasn't so much 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, but it's important today to be like, quote unquote, the thought leader, or to be the brand of your business, or to be the face or the icon of your business. Before it was logos, but now it's really people. But my background primarily went to school, majored in advertising, PR, journalism, in the journalism school, and then started working in media in each one of them, TV, radio, print, all of them. And just said, well, what's the best one that I like? And PR combines all of them, because you have to use them all in order for your clients. And then social media came along, and then that was a whole nother game changer.
Right, for sure. So I know what a lot of my lawyers are thinking. They're thinking, well, this sounds good, but it's probably pretty expensive.
It can be. And one of the reasons why it's expensive, and if anyone's ever done their own PR, trying to track down a journalist takes time. First of all, you have to know who they are. Like, where do you get the information? So that's tracking them down, and that's doing their whole research. Once you find out who they are, then you've got to try to get their attention. You've got to figure out what to say, what the hook, what their angle is, what is it, so all of that is a whole nother discipline. And so publicists are trained. We have our own databases. I use Cision. We actually have a database of thousands and thousands of people. You don't select all and send it though, but you've got to really know who it is you're sending it to. Hopefully they know you, you know them, they trust you, you trust them with a story, and then you try to place the story by putting in a press release, writing a pitch and all that. And it's just a discipline in terms of that. Most people are not going to get it right away. It will take someone being on a retainer. Retainer for most PR firms can be anywhere from $3,500 up to $10,000 per month on retainer. And there's no really quote unquote guarantee. That is primarily like the old business model, I guess you would say, for most PR firms. And those really work for people who are quote unquote already branded, meaning that someone who already has a brand built up and established. If you're just starting out, remember I said media begets media, you need to start slow and small and get some kind of media coverage so that you can have something to put in a media kit, a press kit, right? You need press clippings. So what I do right now is I help people get quick media coverage by going on different news sites that I have relationships with and actually get their story out. And then from there, they can I show them how to leverage it to get other media. So it can be expensive. My quick media coverage, some of the packages start at $750 and the highest is $2,900. And they're not CNN and things like that, not yet, but you need to start somewhere. And this is where you start, because most people don't even know where to start. Most people don't even know how to write a press release. That's like the main thing. They don't know how to write a press release, or what's the language of where to put the press release once it's written. So that part, we kind of help them get started. So there's those packages there on my quick media coverage on my website. But yeah, PR can be expensive on a retainer. You know, when I worked at a PR firm and we worked with McDonald's, they paid us retainer, but then that was a brand. So definitely, if we call a newspaper, radio, TV station, or magazine, they're going to answer the phone and write a story because McDonald's, right? One, because McDonald's advertises, but they try to keep it separate, but also because the brand is well known.
Yeah.
So that's really the main difference in. So most brands do have a PR agency as a retainer. If you're a single lawyer or a firm just starting out, or a firm that doesn't have a lot of media cachet yet, then I would not suggest really going with a PR firm yet, because it'll take a lot for that firm to build your brand up before it's really eligible for larger media. So it'll get you a lot of smaller media before it can get you the bigger media.
Yeah. Gotta crawl before you walk before
Exactly.
you run. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, you know, we've had some people here before talk about HARO, help a reporter out. Does that really work? Do you think it works or
It
not?
does, but I would say it's a whole nother job in by itself. Using HARO is really a job by itself. They send out 3 emails a day. You have to hawk them and see if they really, are something that you can speak to, and then you have to write a pitch. So if you can stop in the middle of your day, see one, because you got to respond right away, see one, respond to it, go back and forth. It does work. I won't say that it doesn't work, but it does take a lot of time. A lot of people hire their publicists to really monitor their HARO for them. And that's fine. They can do that because they know the pitch. But primarily, a lot of the HARO, I guess you would say, journalists that are looking for people, you can find those people. If you know, I always tell people, if you're just really starting out, make a list of the top 10 people in your local area that you want to reach out to, and reach out to them directly. You don't have to wait on HARO, but you can actually make the list and reach out. And the best way I always tell people to reach out is go on LinkedIn. A lot of the media people, they move around so much in their careers. They're very fluid. So make sure you go on LinkedIn, because they do have their profiles there. Request to connect with them, tell them why, that you're an attorney, you're a thought leader, you can add value, speak on A, B, C, and D, whether it's family law, divorce, whatever, and just say, I'd like to connect with you. I may have something that may be of interest to you for a story. You know, they're looking for a story. They're not looking to promote you. They're looking for a story.
Yeah.
So yeah, HARO does help. Like I said, it can be a job in itself 3 times every day. And you got to respond. So you can't wait till at the end of the week, because by the time you respond, the journalist would already have their source. So HARO is help a reporter out. I want to say probably 10 years ago, it was a lot more effective than it is today. And only because social media is more robust and you can actually reach out directly.
Yeah.
But newspapers are really, really local newspapers. If you have most major markets have a daily, probably 2. They have the weeklies if you're in the area, and they're always looking for content. They have to fill that news hole. So a lot of times you can even just offer up columns especially to the weeklies. If you're a specialist in, say, family law, write a column once a month. Doesn't have to be every week, once a month on family law. And it could be your column. And typically they want it to be between 500 and 750 words. And if you could do that with your picture, with your mini bio at the bottom for more information, that will be a good thing that will fill a news hole for a local newspaper. And I always tell people, and then what I've had some clients do is that they have taken all their columns and made them into a book, an ebook that they give away on their website. So that's another way. You definitely always want to grow your email list.
Yeah, I would think too that you could. I was thinking about PI lawyers. That there's always, I call it news hijacking, where you take something that's real hot in the news, then you put your spin on it. Like, this is what in North Carolina, if or this is how the law would apply here. You know, if this happened in this state, because different states have different laws on injury. And I think
piggyback on it, or newsjacking. In the old days, we called it piggybacking on a story, but newsjacking the story sounds a lot more violent. But piggybacking on a story is what you would do, and whatever, knowing the news cycles and what's trending, and then putting in your spin, your angle on that, because they want to talk about a particular issue, but at a certain point in time, what else can they say? And so you can give them something else new to talk about to keep that story trending. And that's what newsjacking is, or piggybacking is.
So
And
when
that's
you go,
as simple as sending an email or a tweet.
yeah. So yeah, when you go to the newspaper, who do you try to? Do you go straight to the editor? I've heard sometimes that's the worst person to go to because he tells everybody no.
Well, if it's a daily, for sure, you don't go to the editor. So within the daily, it's broken down. Everybody has a beat. So you want to monitor if you're in a certain, obviously you're not going to be in the lifestyle section, but you're going to look maybe in the business section and look and see what reporters are covering what beats. And you can usually tell based on what it is that you go to the bio, you click their link and you see what they cover, this, and this. Obviously, you're not going to go to the sports person. You're not going to go to the person that covers like the car chases and all that kind of stuff, so you want to go by the beat. So no, it wouldn't be the editor, because the editor, then their main job is to send the assigned story to someone whose beat that is. But at a local paper, it's different. You probably could go to the editor, especially if you're going to pitch a column, because they are the ones that's overall concerned with the whole product. So you can pitch the editor like a column. These will be my first 3 columns. This is what I would talk about, because you want to give them like that. You're not going to just be like a one and done. So you want to give them like a schedule, like every month I can deliver columns on this. So that could be the editor. When I say a local paper, if you live in Detroit, obviously we've got Detroit Free Press and Detroit News, but then there's also the suburbs that have their own local papers. It could be the Southfield Eccentric or the Farmington News or whatever. So those are the papers that are smaller. And because they are smaller, they have less people that can write. So a lot of times they're looking for content because it can't be everywhere. It may take them 2 weeks maybe to really flush out a story, but their paper comes out every week. So they need something in those gaps. And so having, like I said, they have to fill a news hole. So having a column or even offering to be a source to them is really, really important. So it just depends on the beat. You can find out their beat by LinkedIn. When you go and you look at the name of a reporter in a particular newspaper and go to their LinkedIn, you can see that they are a reporter and they cover A, B, C, and D. So yeah, that's one of the best ways to do it, because there's nothing worse than pitching a reporter when it's like, I don't cover this, and they just trash your stuff.
So you were talking about news press releases,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people don't even know if some I know some of our lawyers know, but the deal is now it's all digital, right? I mean, you put it out. I think, don't they have a couple of companies, PR Web, PR Wire, or something? Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I hadn't kept up with it in a while, to be honest with you. What's the one now?
It is so many now. PR Newswire was kind of like the first and foremost. And actually, Haro helped a reporter out. They merged, right? So PR Newswire, Haro, Cision, they all kind of merged. It's this whole thing, but it's all about SEO. So when you put out a press release, it's not necessarily going to be picked up by the news per se, but it will help with your SEO. So if you put out a press release in this general, say, it's a press release could be a simple thing, maybe giving your opinion or about a certain case that's going on. It's not necessarily that will be picked up directly by a news outlet, but if a reporter is looking for something, and they are, that will bubble up first. Then they will contact you. Now they do send it out directly to news outlets. That's what they do. That's what they're known for. But because reporters get so many inbound, really what they're looking for is like, I am on a deadline. I'm looking for A, B, and C. And so if they can find you online in PR Newswire, PR Web, PR Log, there's one that I work with, blacknews.com, Black PR Wire, all of those things Google really high based on the keywords you put in the press release. So if you have something that you really want to, and it stays there forever. So you that's the key thing. So even though you put the press release out last year, it still will Google in one of the top 10 spaces, depending on the keywords in the press release. So that's why I tell people, at the very least, try to do a press release once a quarter, if not once a month. And, working with someone to figure out like maybe the hook or the angle is important. Got to know what's news and what the press release will sound like by looking at PR Newswire and saying, okay, well, this is a story. And having those things every quarter really will help grow your business. It really will. I'm telling you, it's so many people sleep on doing things on the Newswire, but it really does help your SEO. And that's important.
So we talked about the press releases. We talked about getting on in the newspapers and different things like that. What other things can a lawyer do to get really publicity? I mean, I guess that's what you call it, right? You're getting publicity.
Yeah, publicity. One of the easiest things, I won't say easiest, but one of the things that media outlets like is when someone gets when they're doing an event, and the event is a charitable event. So it's sponsored by you, it's put on by you. So if it's in a lawyer, maybe you're giving it to the top police officers in the area. These are the good cops that we really want to honor. Or you want to do something for a particular, Special Olympics or something like that, where it's an event and it's human interest and it's more than just you promoting your firm. Right. In a way, but you're promoting an event or a charity that benefits other people other than yourself. So you're sponsoring, you're putting it on. So it just has like that charity hook to it. And so you can write a press release and then have the media come out, TV stations come out. Awards programs are really, really good to do. Honoring people in your community is something that you could do once a year. Doing something based on like some kind of heart walk or some kind of walk, or whatever is your passion. Don't just pick anything random. It's something you're passionate about, and create an event around that so that it's a charitable event. People can come and partake in that. That's a really, really good thing to do. The thing, I work for a nonprofit, so the Salvation Army would always get people say, we'd like to do an event and we'd love for you to be the beneficiary. Can your officers come and be at the event or whatever. It's like, sure, no problem. So that was like, we had a whole department called community relations. Community relations is that part where the law firm, if they want to grow, can be connected to the community and people can see the good work that they're doing, besides obviously doing the work that their careers calling them to do, but also doing things in their community. So that's one really good. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but it would have to be like nice. If you want to honor the firemen in your community, if you whatever your area is that you want to honor people for. Sometimes you could just honor centurions, I guess you say, people who are hitting 100 years old in your community, right? That could be something that is really would be, I don't know, too many. It used to be like they would do it on national news, but honoring people who are 100 in your community is a good way. And then you can send out a press release and have them. And then who was it brought to by? You're the spokesperson. You're talking about, why did you do this? It's important to honor our elders, whatever. Those are good things. Christmas time, people are always doing things that are good for people who, around the Christmas time, they're giving out toys and, toys for tots and all that kind of stuff. But there's so many ways where you could do good and get PR.
Yeah, I know we got some at Pamela, we've got some masterminds that they, at Thanksgiving, they go away and load of turkeys, that they promote it, and there are people lining outside their office. When they had the pandemic, we had one that was giving away hand sanitizer, little bottles of hand sanitizer, and the bandanas or the mask.
Yes,
we've had some lawyers that celebrated a teacher once a month in their area. Like an apple, I think they call it an Apple Award or something like that.
Oh, I love that. I thought
it was pretty cool, pretty ingenious.
Yes, those are the creative things that really help. So whatever's your passion, I think it's going to lend itself to making it grow. Yeah. So that would be really good. Sometimes right after Christmas and right after holidays, people have given a lot to the needy, but January comes around and they're still needy, and then there's nothing really going on. So look at other months as well that will kind of bubble up on the news cycle, because I think January is National Homeless Awareness Month. So even if you did something with that, or look at the different months of the different calendars, what particular months are the national of, and there's a month for everything and a day for something.
There's a day, there's something every day.
It's something National Puppy Day. I mean, it's just whatever. There's all kind of different days. So you can look at, I think it's calendar.com or calendarnews.com, and really look at the different days and different months and see how you can fit in. And those are the news cycles that they're looking for. And you can make that news. Put that
you can create your own national holiday. I mean, you really can. I mean, I did one. I created National Mastermind Day. But I used it just as a ploy, as I just anointed it that it was going to be, and nobody called me out on it. And I just said,
well, you can do that. I had a friend that did that about yoga, something about Yoga Day or something, and she did that as well. But she actually put it on a calendar, on that same calendar where you can claim it and put it on the calendar.
Really?
And she did that, and every year she had the T-shirt, she had an event, all the things.
Smart.
Yeah. So you can create your own.
Good PR. Okay. All righty. Good deal. Anything I should ask you I didn't ask you, Pam?
Well, just the main thing is that starting small, starting local, even as, and I want to say in terms of PR, everyone who's an attorney obviously went to undergraduate, maybe went to grad school, but also went to law school, making sure that you stay connected to the people who you paid the money for the school for. So they all have alumni magazines, most of them. They have alumni. And so making sure that you're always feeding information to your alumni magazine. You never know. You may be the cover. You may be their great success story that they're looking for that month. You may be the cover of your alumni magazine. If you went to Wayne State Law School, I have a client that wrote a book, and she wrote a book. She went to Wayne State Law School. She's a judge. And so her book is called Your Honor, Your Honor. So they basically wrote a story about her and her book. Your Honor, Your Honor. Her and her twin sister were the first African-American twins to be sit on the bench at the same time in Detroit. So keep connected to like what I call the lowest hanging fruit, what you don't think about. It's like, oh yeah, but that's press, because once you're in that particular publication, leverage it. Put it on social, put it in your newsletter, send it out to your email. Hey, I was featured in such and such law school. So making sure that you're using the lowest hanging fruit of people who are closest to you that have or media outlets that you can speak to or speak on, send them information, and then leverage it in social media, leverage it in your newsletter, leverage it in your email signature. So those are the things that you want to do. Yep.
So if somebody wanted to pick your brain or talk to you about hiring you, how would they get up with you, Pam?
Pam Perry PR.com. Really simple. Pam Perry PR.com.
PAMPERY PR.com.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah. And hope to see you soon. And to all you listeners and viewers out there, until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.